and welcome in Zach Weinberger from the Palm Beach Post, covers the FAU Owls, and we'll get to know that team a little bit. Zach, we appreciate your time. How you doing today?
Good, doing great. I'm excited. You know, obviously we're heading into that season now with college football, and it seems like just everybody is just excited. So really cool to be on. Everybody's
undefeated right now, Zach. So everybody's in a good mood. Day one of practice and feeling good. I will say this: we had Phil Steele on a couple weeks ago, and a few things stuck out to me from that conversation. He does think UTSA is the real deal coming into this league. But one thing he said stuck with me. He said in his conversation with Tom Herman, he really liked what he inherited at FAU, and that made me a little nervous. You see FAU in Phil Steele's magazine and the media polls picked one spot ahead of East Carolina. So they got a solid coach there, and it sounds like some pretty good talent for Tom Herman to work with. What is kind of the overall outlook and expectation for the Owls this year?
Yeah, you know, obviously when you kind of get into your for a first season, kind of in the AAC, and now first season with a new head coach who has a lot of success in the AAC. Obviously, Boca Raton is just kind of buzzing with sort of like those expectations, especially coming off of a season of basketball, you know, where, again, they made the Final Four and almost won the whole thing. So there's just a lot of excitement, you know, around this program. And really, it's really on the offensive side of the ball that you see a lot of potential here. You know, even before the acquisition of Casey Thompson, which is such a huge get for this team, you know, you had really one of the top backfields in the conference. You had a pretty deep wide receiver room and experienced offensive line, kind of head coached by Ed Warner, who's worked with Herman in the past. And again, I just feel like, you know, this team always had potential, and people kind of blamed it here and there, and obviously they kind of went past the Willie Taggart regime, but I think they wanted to have a proven winner and some momentum going into here. So, and again, just adding in kind of that talent that Casey Thompson does bring, this offense could be really well. You know, and people were kind of wondering if, you know, Daniel Richardson, who's the sort of the number 2 guy at this point, if he can really kind of elevate the offense. But now it seems like that the offense is kind of in good hands. And then the defense, I do have some question marks there, and we'll talk about it a little bit, but this team, I would say that the 5th ranking that they have in the media polls and everything is pretty well placed, in my opinion.
Talking to Zach Weinberger, talking to FAU football here on a Wednesday edition of Pirate Radio Live. And Zach, we talk about that a lot with the American, and I have Jeff Nadeau on, who is kind of a gambling guy, and says there's going to be a lot of overs in the AAC this year. Who is going to play defense in the American? How about FAU? Where do they stack up on that side of the ball?
Yeah, and I'll just say that there's, to me, some positives, and there's, to me, some question marks on this defense, especially when you kind of lose a lot of talent, kind of like a TJ Young, who you thought was going to be here, but then obviously he transferred to Ole Miss with Lane Kiffin, who was a former FAU coach, obviously. So you're losing him, and really the DBs it's a lot of younger guys. I mean, a guy like Jaden Williams, who really performed well last season, his freshman year, you're kind of wondering if he's going to step up alongside Romaine Smoke Mungeon. But really, the strength of the defense is the defensive line, and that's headed by Evan Anderson. I mean, in my opinion, I mean, even just kind of besides covering FAU and knowing them well, I truly think he's one of the best players in the conference. I mean, he really is a run disruptor. He is, you know, he just disrupts every play that he's a part of, and even the people behind him, like a Jacob Merrifield, Carius Hawthorne, Latrell Jean. I mean, there's a lot of players there that could really just kind of disrupt at the line of scrimmage. So I'm really interested to see how their fall camp is going to be. So it should be an exciting one for FAU fans. But also the linebacker position is pretty kind of inconsistent. And Herman really talked about that during the spring, but even just looking on paper, obviously you have guys that could perform. A Jalen Wester that looked really exciting last year, and Eddie Williams and Xavier Peters. But really when it comes to the inside linebacker position, it's really running thin of really experience. And you're just kind of hoping this fall camp can really unlock the abilities that these guys have. So again, the offense is way more kind of like you have the high expectations for the defense. You're kind of wondering what Rock Bellantani, who's the defensive coordinator now, who worked at FAU previously, what he's going to do with that defense. So this fall camp is going to be absolutely vital in terms of seeing who can really step up.
Zach Weinberger joining us, talking FAU football here on Pirate Radio Live. Zach, as I talk to opposing teams' play-by-play voices and beat writers, I always ask, has the transfer portal been a net gain, a net negative for FAU? How have they kind of utilized that these last few years, and are they losing more than they're getting, or are they able to bring in some guys to help right away?
I definitely think at this point, especially since Herman's been here, it's been 50-50. Because, again, you lose a guys like a T.J. Young, who's been one of the best defensive players on this team for the past couple years, and even a Jalen Joyner, who also transferred as well, who's been kind of like at the forefront of the defensive line for so long now. But you also get a guy like Casey Thompson, who is like one of the biggest transfers the school's had in football for easily. So to me, it's like you're gaining so much there where, no disrespect to Daniel Richardson, he looked like QB1 heading into the spring, but Casey Thompson is absolutely a huge get. So I would say it's 50-50, but like you said, the transfer portal has really just changed college football, and obviously there's a huge debate of whether that's for the best or not. But in terms of teams like FAU, it's sort of been in the middle. They've gained a lot, but they also lost a lot, and you're going to want to see which players sort of step into that role and kind of fill in that time that some players are missing. So I would say it's huge. And again, even besides the Casey Thompson, I would say that Herman has really recruited well and utilized the transfer portal at this point pretty solidly. So I wonder how that's going to be in the future for FAU, and I wonder where that goes. But it's been an interesting sort of storyline to follow.
Zach, a lot of schools here in North Carolina, a lot of talent there in the state of Florida, and a lot of schools as well. So recruiting, on a positive, you got a lot of players to choose from. I guess the negative is you've got some bigger schools, bigger traditional programs, and the SEC kind of lurking as well. So how does FAU stay up with not just Florida, Florida State, Miami, but also UCF, USF, the other schools there in Florida? I got to think at least the name Tom Herman will help them out in that department.
Absolutely, the name Tom Herman, and even just what the school has been doing to the athletics programs, and even besides. Again, I really truly think even if it's a different sport, that what happened in basketball, college basketball recently, with FAU just going so far in March Madness, it just puts so much more eyes on the school than it ever did. I would argue it's the biggest thing that ever happened to the school in athletics history. To me, there's no debate.
On that note, Zach, East Carolina has been a basketball graveyard my entire life, and even before that. And I have always said that little, even Selection Sunday, just getting on there, seeing your name on CBS, and you got Gumbel and the guys talking about it, that would be a positive. That's why we know Gonzaga and some of these other schools. The fact that they went all the way to the Final Four and had that magical run, I mean, that is marketing, that is eyeballs, that is attention that you can't pay for. It is priceless. And you're right. That's a great point. That should carry over to the entire athletics, to all the programs.
And I could tell you that it has, because especially since, the recruiting, I would feel like, it's been weird because since, Lane Kiffin and everything like that, Tom Herman, I think one of the benefits of him coming in there is that not only now he has sort of the South Florida, which is obviously one of the two hotbeds for recruiting, but he also has that kind of sort of experience recruiting in Texas. So again, his name is just absolutely, besides kind of the play on the field, his name is so important in terms of recruiting. And to me, one of those things, again, like besides the success that basketball has had, he could really just sort of tap in to that. Again, at the moment, FAU is one of the few, besides obviously at is one of the few sort of truly South Florida schools. And for South Florida kids, it would be such an easy sort of relocation. So what they have done, they used to have this building complex in FAU called the Oxley Center, but they recently just put the Schmidt Center right next to the stadium, and it's been such a luxurious sort of a place to go for students and for recruits. So they put a lot of money into athletics, and it seems like it is panning out. And obviously moving up to a bigger conference this first year, it just only helps this program.
Talking to Zach Weinberger today on the Pirate Radio Live line as we talk a little FAU Owls football and looking at let's look at the schedule, Zach, and how it shapes up for them. First of all, you're entering a new conference, so taken somewhat of a step up in competition. The non-conference schedule definitely has some competition with Clemson, with Illinois, as Bielema has them playing good football once again. Ohio on the schedule, and you open up with Monmouth. So how about that non-conference schedule? You got one very similar to East Carolina in the fact that the Pirates open up at the Big House at Michigan. You guys will go to Death Valley, looks like week 3. But how about the schedule overall for the Owls and how it shapes out?
I think if you wanted a tougher schedule, you couldn't get it. I think that FAU and Tom Herman, just the whole program, have, they're going to be tested to start the season. And I think that can only help this team, especially getting into the really more important games. That's obviously when conference play starts. So I think opening up in Monmouth, and then you go to Ohio, and then Clemson, and then Illinois. I mean, that is an insane travel schedule, especially going from Clemson to Illinois. So they're going to be tested, and especially when that first, one of the first, sort of conference games is going to be USF, and obviously FAU and USF, they haven't played one game in the conference together yet, but the fans on Twitter have been just going back and forth. So it's going to be a very exciting season for FAU, just not even in terms of what the play is going to be like. But again, it just seems sort of inevitable that, we were going to see this team not in the Conference USA anymore. And like you said, it is a step up in competition, but also the Conference USA teams that are going up with the AAC alongside with them, they've been teams that have been outperforming, a lot that we've seen in Conference USA. So the schedule, they're going to be cut out for them, and I think it's going to be just absolutely a benefit for this team to kind of start off getting maybe punch in their teeth early, but then getting into the most important parts of the games, and they'll be ready. So, I mean, we'll see. We'll see how this season goes, but it should be an exciting one.
Zach Weinberger joining us. You can follow him on Twitter at Zach Weinberger, covering FAU. Says on the profile you cover little Dolphins as well, and when healthy, they are one of the more fun teams to watch in the NFL. Our producer Shirley Rhodes, a big Dolphins fan. What is the expectation there? Is it are they up there with the Bills right now? I know the Jets are getting a lot of headlines. It is crazy to see the Patriots at the bottom when it comes to the gambling odds in the AFC East. That is something we're just not used to seeing, but just shows how good those teams are around them now in the AFC East. What do you think about Miami this year?
I mean, I think they obviously just like a lot of teams in college. I mean, they have huge expectations, and I think it's granted. I know Dolphins fans have been have always been down in the dumps about sort of they have big expectations for the team, and they always come out. But I truly this season just feels a little bit different in terms of what the coaching staff is and what sort of the offense looks like. And again, it's always a big if, right? Obviously, Tua has kind of fit the part. He's learning the jiu-jitsu. He's really has a bigger mass now to kind of hopefully prevent from those injuries. So if he stays healthy, I think the sky is the limit for this team. At this moment, right, it's still an if. But again, the team around him that offense is going to be absolutely explosive. It hurts losing a Jalen Ramsey for sure. But again, we'll see how Vic Fangio runs this defense. And again, still having X there, I do think Eli Apple, even though he's had his struggles, is still a good piece to have. And that just draft pick of Cam Smith just looks just smart, just looking back on it now. So the AFC East, though, that's a division that's going to be one of the best easily in the league. I think, to me, I have to wait and see about the Jets. I know a lot of people are kind of putting them at second, the Dolphins at third. I still think the Bills are good there at 1 and the Patriots at 4. It's not that surprising, but I know that the people are debating the Jets and the Dolphins, and obviously getting Aaron Rodgers is key, but I do think the Dolphins will be second in that division. This is obviously just early predictions. But again, the team is clicking, should be clicking on all cylinders, heading into week 1 for the Dolphins. It's going to be exciting.
Zach, good stuff, man. Appreciate you joining us. We'll reconvene with you in November when the Pirates and the Owls meet up in football, and was really bummed out to see the basketball conference home and homes and who gets who, and the Pirates will be away at FAU. Was really looking forward to a packed Minges to see that FAU basketball team coming here, but we'll have to wait at least another year for that. But we'll get you back on down the line, talk more FAU athletics with you, man. And for folks that want to check out your work, they can go online, Palm Beach Post. Anything else you want to plug?
Yeah, like you mentioned before, there's the Twitter or X, I guess they call it now, but
X. That's right. Sorry, it's not Twitter anymore. My mistake.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm probably going to still call it Twitter
Yeah.
just because it's still ingrained in my head. But yeah, just Instagram too, and I guess their version of Twitter Threads, Zach Weinberger, same ad. So yeah, and Palm Beach Pros, and I can't wait to speak to you guys soon.
Thanks, Zach. Enjoyed it, man. Have a good rest of your off season, and games are coming soon. So we're excited. We'll talk to you down the road, man.